All right, we've been following these protests for weeks now outside the ICE facility in Broadview. And then not far from the Bean, right there, we saw patrols over the weekend, ICE agents. That was a big development over the weekend in the Trump administration's immigration crackdown. Dozens of ICE agents seen patrolling downtown Michigan Avenue. In addition to the boat patrols we saw on the Chicago River, they've been met by protesters. And the National Lawyers Guild is monitoring the situation with these protests. Joining us now with more on their efforts is volunteer lawyer Brad Thompson. Brad, thank you for being in studio. We appreciate it.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
What can you tell us about arrests when it comes to the clashes that we have seen locally between ICE agents and protesters specifically?
Sure. So the National Lawyers Guild, we're a volunteer legal organization made up of lawyers, legal workers, and law students. We have a mass defense program that responds to protests and observes them. We have trained legal professionals observing protests. And what our legal observers have noted is not clashes so much as one-sided attacks by law enforcement, federal agents against people demonstrating. So this is at the Broadview facility. People are gathering, protesting, exercising their First Amendment rights, and they've been met with projectiles, chemical weapons. Our legal observers have personally been shot at and hit with pepper balls simply for doing their job, trying to observe these protests and document what's happening. So we've seen this sort of indiscriminate use of force that's targeted not only people who are protesting, but also legal observers and members of the press who've also been subjected to this and arrested themselves.
Okay, one of the, I believe it was a woman who spoke to us 3 days ago, this past Friday, said that she and a couple of others were hit by these pepper balls as they were signing, and I think S-I-G-N, signing the fencing outside of there. Could that be seen as an act of aggression by the ICE agents? And were there any that were actively getting in the way of those ICE agents trying to get to and from or in and out of the facility? And could that, in any legal sense, be justification for the for that aggression that you kind of alluded to there?
Right. So the use of force, you know, there's laws that govern what kinds of force that law enforcement can use in response to protests. And if there's some sort of threat, they can respond there. What our legal observers have seen is this being shot not only when the gates are open and vehicles are coming in and out, and at those points, the officers are apparently indiscriminately firing at everyone.
Okay.
But we're also seeing, even when the gates are open, people standing there chanting. You know, I was there the other night in an attempt to visit one of my clients, two of my clients actually, who were arrested. These are U.S. citizens protesting outside of the fence who were arrested, taken inside, and I was trying to visit them. I was unable to have an in-person visit, and what I witnessed myself was people chanting, speaking about violence, speaking out against violence by law enforcement, speaking out against violence generally, and officers, without warning, firing those pepper balls at a crowd of about 20 or 30 people with the fence closed. You know, this really does appear to be First Amendment retaliation, both with the force used as well as the arrests. We've had 28 arrests in total in the last 2.5 weeks at the Broadview facility.
Okay, so what's happening then? You said you tried and failed to see that, or were you able to get inside and talk to your clients?
I was unable to get inside to visit with my clients.
Okay, so what is this? Okay, 28. How long are they being detained? Is there a jail? That, you know, like, this is a federal operation, not a local. You know, I'm more familiar with what happens when you're taken to 26th and Cal, for example, processed and, you know, a bond hearing and everything like that. But what is happening to these protesters who are U.S. citizens?
Yeah, that's a great question, because we're also more used to that traditional procedure. So what has happened here is people have been seized just outside the facility, brought into the facility, and then released. Some of them have been released right unseen and able to walk out the gate. Some of them have been driven elsewhere. So the two clients I was attempting to visit, I was looking through the gate, through the fencing, and saw them put into an unmarked SUV.
Okay.
And driven to two separate locations. One was dropped off at a gas station about half a mile away, and one was taken to another location in a different town.
What is your understanding of the legality of that?
this raises serious constitutional concerns. These are First Amendment rights, Fourth Amendment rights, Fifth and Sixth Amendment rights. These are rights to counsel that were being denied. And this puts us in serious concern not only to the protesters, but these are the agents who are also responding to immigration concerns. So these same people who are often unidentified, no name tags, no badges. I didn't see any names, any badge numbers, any body-worn camera on any of the dozens of officers that I saw that night, and many of them had their faces covered.
One more question, and we're really running out of time, so it's got to be quick. But in your mind, what would be an appropriate approach? Have you seen anything kind of approach the limit where protesters are really getting close to that line where it's like, okay, an aggressive response would be justified in that situation? So
again, the law always allows for that type of situation. I didn't witness that at all, and the reports we've seen from our legal observers has been that this has been unprovoked attacks.
Okay, Brad Thompson, thank you very much.
Thank you
for offering your perspective this morning. We appreciate you being in studio. It is 8:30 on the nose. We're back with more after this.